They couldn't get it done last night, dropping Game 4 to the Pacers 131-21. Sloppy play and poor defense cost New York in key moments, and they couldn't overcome Tyrese Halliburton's career night. The Knicks now trail 3-1 in the series on the brink, but Karl-Anthony Towns isn't ready to throw in the towel. Take a listen.
We've been a team that has kind of found a way to do the impossible when it always seemed impossible. We just keep fighting. So it's going to be a testament to our whole playoff run. Now we have to be in one of the biggest fights of our lives and of our season, and it starts with next game.
Okay, Stephen A., here's what I want to know. Are the Knicks done? And what I mean by are the Knicks done, meaning are they not winning the series? I'm not talking about another game. I'm talking about going to the finals.
It looks that way. I'm not of the mindset that I'm ready to concede that. I find it hard to believe they're going to overcome a 3-1 deficit, but I'm going to go down with the ship. I think they're going to win Game 5. I think they can win a Game 7. Game 6 on Indiana's home turf is the problem. Can they get through that game? So my mentality is win Game 5, and then after that go back to Indiana, with Indiana knowing they don't want to go to a Game 7. And if the New York Knicks can take them out that game, anything's possible. They're right now, the odds are stacked against them. I wouldn't bet my money on it, but I'm not going to completely count them out. I'm still going to give them a chance to come back from this.
Yeah, I definitely will, too. 13 teams, by the way, have come from 3-1 down to win a series in the NBA. 13 teams have done it, and most of them do it the way the Knicks will have to do it. 2 games at home. There's only a couple of teams who won 3-1 down when they didn't have home court. The Celtics did it against Philly with Russell in his second to last year, and Houston did it one year to Phoenix down 3-1, didn't have home court, and they won. I think the Knicks can, I don't know if they will, but 3 in a row against Indiana will be very difficult. I'm with Steve 100% on that. But I think they're going to win Game 5. I don't think they're going to lose 3 games in a row at Madison Square Garden. They've already won a game in Indiana. There'll be a tough out in that Game 6. They will be a tough out. They're on the season's on the line. There'll be a tough out in that game. So it's not impossible. It's been done. We've all seen it be done. Indiana's not that much better than the Knicks. They should be 2-2 in this series. And they have 2 games at home. I know they're bad at home, but they're due to win a game here eventually in their building. 1 game at a time. Go to Indiana to play the game on Saturday night and get to Game 7 at home on Monday. Not impossible. Knicks are not done in this series.
I do feel for every New York Knicks fan because that Game 1 is going to haunt you guys. At Game 1, you get that Game 1 where you're up double digits, close that one out, you're going back to New York 2-2 right now. This
totally different series.
Over,
yeah.
This series is over. This is a wrap. Or as my boys would say, chicken sees a wrap. It up.
In Game 5, or you want to give the Knicks a Game 5?
I'm just saying they may be able to get Game 5. I mean, if the energy is right. But also the thing that's concerning about this is that the Knicks are 3-5 in the playoffs at home.
It's a problem.
That's a major problem. They're better on the road than they actually are at home. And the one thing that is my biggest concern is that I trust in who the Pacers are more than I trust who the Knicks are trying to become in order to beat the Pacers. I feel like there's a real identity crisis going on with the Knicks, tinkering around with different lineups, trying to understand how do we play defensively, some of the challenges, the minutes thing I told you, which I really think is a big thing. It may not be physical fatigue, but I do feel like there is a big mental fatigue considering all the dogfights that they've had to go through in order to get to this point. And that pace and that continuity is a real thing. And this is not a good defensive team. This is not a traditional Tibbs team. So in my opinion, this thing is a wrap. It's done.
Well, let me tell you something. It hurts to hear Jay say that, but nobody's in a position to refute what he's saying, because when you take into account the Knicks in its totality, and it's something, if and when this season ends, we'll reflect on this team in this season, and unfortunately, it won't be with glowing comments. We have to reflect on what they had, and we have to ask ourselves, did you have to give up 5 first-round picks for unprotected for Mikal Bridges? Was it the wisest thing to let Hartenstein get away and go to Oklahoma City instead of paying him $87 million over 3 years? Is this team tougher? Because you got to remember, Tom Thibodeau, Yeah, he says last night we scored 120 points. That's enough, but we got to be better defensively. Tom Thibodeau, his teams don't defend like this, but they're not a good defensive team.
Stephen
So
A., do you feel like he's coaching
Cleveland's not
himself out
going
of a
away.
job?
I'm not going to go that far, and here's why I'm going to say I'm not going to go that far, Molly, because it wasn't his decision to give up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. See, you have to look at the Knicks and dissect their future, not just their present. Like, did Tom Thibodeau really, really want to compromise their defense to get more offense? Does he strike you as that kind of guy? No, he does not. So you know that was upper management. That wasn't him. But nevertheless, you're the coach, and you're supposed to do what you're supposed to work with what you have. And when you see the New York Knicks, and we thought Boston and Cleveland were better, and then we saw Detroit, who, by the way, didn't have a couple. They didn't have Stewart. They didn't have, this cat, Jaden Ivey. They didn't have a couple of pieces they'll have next year. Detroit's not going away. Orlando's on the come up. Cleveland's already here. They'll have something to say, especially after going down the way that they did. Indiana's not going away. Boston, one has to believe, will resurrect himself in some capacity eventually. So the championship aspirations that the New York Knicks were hoping these moves would ultimately morph into has not transpired. And a matter of fact, it looks more daunting than ever. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint. They've got a lot of things to think about this offseason. Tom Thibodeau will be one of them, no doubt about it. But he ain't the only one. He ain't the only one because he didn't make those moves. They made those moves, and it turned. And if they lose the series, nobody's going to believe it pans out for them.
Super quick. Stephen A., everything that you said is 100% right. But just playing devil's advocate, did any of us really have the Knicks going to the finals this season? So in some ways you could look at it, they still exceeded expectations. Even if there were some poor roster moves and some trades that we don't agree with, I mean, they're outperforming what we expected of them this season.
No, we expected them to get to the conference finals when they made the moves until we saw Cleveland start the season the way that it did. We thought it would be Boston and New York.
No, you're right.
The New York Knicks are still here, but that's not the issue. The issue is because of the assets that you gave up. We're thinking if there was a piece out there to get, how you going to get them?
Yeah, Jay?
Because you gave up your assets. That's the problem.
Yep. Jay?
Stephen A., I love Tibbs. I think he is a tremendous coach. And I agree with your points about management and if that were the real kind of choices that Tibbs would have wanted management to actually make. But I will give you this caveat. There's an if. If they lose Game 5 at home to Indiana, that will now have been 2 years in a row.
Where are you going?
They have lost to their conference rival at Madison Square Garden. Last year was Game 7. It was a really big thing. You retool, you got the right pieces, and now you're playing against them again. If they lose against them in Game 5 at home, you will start to hear a trickle-down effect or a flooding effect of, can we go back to Game 5 against Detroit? But why did he have Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson wait so long? We will start to revisit a lot of those things. And as much as I love Warriors and guys actually playing a lot of minutes, because it refutes all the stuff about load management, we will then start to go back to, well, why couldn't he get Chicago over the hump? What happened in Chicago? Why couldn't he get Minnesota over the hump? What happened into Minnesota? Will he be the guy to get the Knicks over the hump, or is he the guy that gets the Knicks right there, but
vài mũi tiếp. Rồi gỡ thêm len để dùng nhé. Giờ móc những mũi tiếp theo này, móc vòng quanh. Cứ lần lượt từng mũi một nhé. Để cho cái phần màu hồng nó bám quanh cái phần màu xanh. Rồi những mũi tiếp theo này. Lần lượt cho mình. Tiếp tục nhé. Rồi mũi tiếp. Rồi mũi nữa này. Lần lượt cho mình. Tiếp tục móc. Đây mũi nữa này. Tiếp tục. Đây còn một xíu nữa là hết cái hàng này nhá. Mình móc nốt cái khúc này nha mọi người. Mũi tiếp theo này. Mũi tiếp nữa. Tiếp tục móc xuống. Rồi móc nối vào đây và siết dây. Đấy. Được cái phần len như thế này nhá, đan xen. Đây, kiểu như là những cái cánh nhọn nhọn này. Xinh nha. Giờ mình sẽ móc hàng tiếp theo nha mọi người. Mình sẽ đổi sang màu xanh, lại màu xanh đi. Đỡ thêm len để dùng nhá. Bây giờ sẽ móc tiếp vào. Siết chặt phần len màu hồng. Bây giờ sẽ móc xuống lại. Cũng vẫn là cứ 2 mũi vào một chân nhá. Mình móc xuống. Tiếp tục này. Móc những cái mũi bính, lần này sẽ là 3 mũi bính nhé. Hàng vừa nãy là 2, hàng này sẽ là 3. Đây móc xuống này. Cứ lần lượt như này được. Tiếp tục nha mọi người. Mình móc tiếp những mũi tiếp theo cũng y như vậy. Rồi mũi tiếp theo này. Đấy mình móc vòng quanh nhá, móc vòng quanh. Tiếp nha mọi người. Mũi tiếp. Đây mũi nữa này. Mũi tiếp nữa này.